I hope everybody has had a wonderful and amazing week so far. Thank you for joining us today. So, for those who don't know me, I am Teacher Cole, and I am the owner of Teacher Cole's English Corner. And today you're joining me for our bi-weekly session of Teachers Live. So, let's kick off this series here, and I'm really excited that you guys are here today. So we have a really awesome topic for you. As you have probably noticed from our posting, we're going to talk about the water cycle. You're probably saying, Teacher Cole, how is that exciting, right? Well, it is one of the most important cycles on Earth. And by the end of the day today, by the end of this session, you'll know exactly how it works. From evaporation to groundwater, we've got you covered. So, probably wondering, who is this lovely gentleman sitting next to me? Well, I'm thrilled to introduce you to who will be leading our lesson today. This is Teacher Jay from Jay Teaches. He's a fantastic educator and a collaborator here at TCEC. While Jay isn't one of our official teachers, he is part of our broader community, and I've had the privilege of working with him through my coaching program. So he's got some incredible insights, and I'm going to love the way, and so are you, the way he breaks down this topic for you. He has such wonderful insight into this. But before we get started, we have a very special gift for you. I am going to be dropping a link in the comments section here in just a second, and it's a special workbook for today's lesson. It's designed to help you follow along today and give you some fun extra exercises to complete afterwards. So it's for now and beyond. So without further ado, let's welcome Teacher Jay.
Hey everybody, I'm glad to be here. I am Teacher Jay, and just so everybody knows, I was a meteorologist for 10 years when I was in the U.S. Air Force. So the water cycle is one of the most important parts of meteorology and what meteorologists do. So let's get started. There are several parts to the water cycle. We have evaporation, transpiration, condensation, precipitation, surface runoff, and groundwater flow. We're going to mainly, the ones we're going to mainly talk about today, we're going to talk about evaporation, condensation, and precipitation. Those are the most exciting ones. Okay. Now, evaporation. This is when liquid becomes a gas. So in the atmosphere, the sun, the big yellow thing in the sky, it will heat up the air and heat up the water on the surface. And as that water heats up, it slowly rises as water vapor. You cannot see this, you cannot feel it. It just slowly evaporates and rises. Okay, interesting fact. The amount of water that is evaporating is about the same as the amount that's precipitating. When I say precipitating, I mean like rain or snow. Okay, so as water evaporates in one place, it's raining in another. So remember, evaporation is the heating of surface water that rises. Okay, and a couple examples of evaporation in your house when you're cooking. As the water heats, it starts to rise, and it looks like it's steam is what it is, but that's actually water vapor that's rising. And on the left picture, this is, you won't see this very often like this, but it's the best picture I could find to give you a visual of what it looks like on the surface. Okay, but as the ground heats from the sun, the water that was on the ground starts to rise. Remember that. Okay, next we have condensation. So remember this. The water vapor is rising from evaporation. As it rises and goes through the atmosphere in the air, the higher it gets, the colder it gets. And at some point, it condenses, or it starts to form things like clouds, or even water droplets, or ice crystals if it's cold enough. So if it's below, in Celsius 0 degrees, it will start to freeze as ice crystals. This happens because cool air does not hold as much water as warm air. So it starts to release it as water droplets or ice crystals. And then what happens is these droplets and ice crystals, they run into each other. They bang into each other and they combine and they get bigger and bigger and they form bigger clouds. Uh, you have seen condensation many times. If you come out in the morning, the air has cooled overnight, and you will see water on the grass, windows, cars, even though it didn't rain. Or if you have a cold glass of water, there will be condensation that forms on the outside of the glass. And here we have got uh, clouds that have formed as they condensed. Did I not share my slides?
I wondered down your PowerPoint just in case.
There we go. There you go. Okay.
Very good. See, kids, we all have technical issues. I've done it myself a few times.
All right. Let me go through these again real quick. So the water cycle. Remember, it's a continuous cycle. It never stops. It never starts. It's always there. It's always happening. And here's evaporation. Again, the sun heats the surface water. As it heats it, it warms up and starts to rise. Then we're going to go to condensation. As that water vapor rises, it cools. And when it cools, it can form water droplets and ice crystals. And then eventually, the water droplets and ice crystals, they bang into each other and they combine and they get bigger and bigger and bigger. And they start to form clouds. And what happens when they get too heavy? Well, that's when that's when it starts to rain. And when rain or snow or sleet or hail's a little different, but we'll keep it in there. So what is precipitation? This is any type of water that reaches the earth. Again, rain, sleet, snow, those are going to be the main ones. And sometimes hail, but you'll only see hail during thunderstorms. And again, when the ice crystals and the water drops, they bump into each other, again, they get bigger and bigger and they get too heavy and then it rains on us. Surface runoff and groundwater, these aren't the main topics, but I did want to talk about them. So here we go. Let me get my pen out for you. So here we've got evaporation. The sun has heated the water rises, condenses into a cloud. Wind can push the clouds over the land, of course, and these water droplets start to get too heavy. So it rains. And here the water runs off into lakes, rivers, oceans, anything like that. That's the basics of surface runoff. It doesn't stop the eventual evaporation that will happen. It just moves it. It's just part of the process. It's just an example of groundwater and surface runoff. Surface runoff, it gives us when it rains a lot, the ground gets too full of water and the water starts to move and it starts to flow. That's how rivers start, and that flows into, like I said, lakes, rivers, and oceans. So, as I mentioned before, the water cycle is a continuous cycle. It never stops. It never starts. One of my trick questions that I use in a class, I will ask students, where does the water cycle start? But they always fall for the trick. Okay, but usually they say, usually students will say it starts with evaporation. But that's not true. This is a continuous cycle. It's just like a circle. It never stops. It never starts. It's always there, 24 hours a day. Okay, good. Okay, the key components of the water cycle. It's these top three: evaporation, condensation, and precipitation. We have other things to consider, surface runoff and groundwater, but they're all part of the process. Those are the top three are the ones to remember. Evaporation, which is liquid to gas, condensation. Uh, this is when the water vapor cools and forms clouds. And then precipitation, that's when it rains or snows or hails, anything like that. Okay. Okay. Cole, are there any questions out there?
Well, I actually have a question.
Give it to
So,
me.
yes, that previous slide that you had, you said that the condensation becomes precipitation. Why is it not always rain?
Well, because the water droplets don't, when the water droplets form, they're not always heavy enough to fall from the cloud. Okay, that's why we have, I have another class on clouds and cloud types, but there's like a lot of people know cumulus clouds. Those are basically good weather clouds. It doesn't rain, but as the surface heats up and more moisture gets pumped into those clouds, they build up, they turn into towering cumulus. And then eventually, what we call cumulonimbus, CB clouds. CB clouds are what thunderstorms come from, your tornadoes, all the bad stuff, all the bad stuff. Okay.
So those first clouds are the ones that we lay on a hill underneath and decide if it
Yeah,
looks like a
it's a happy
lion
day when you only see
or a
cumulus.
bear.
Yeah, yeah, it's a happy day when you only see cumulus clouds.
Very good, very good. All right. Well, that was very interesting. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background as a meteorologist? I mean, how do you know so much about this?
Well, like I said, I was in the U.S. Air Force, and my job was to be a meteorologist. They actually sent me to school. It was a 1 year school, Monday through Friday, 8 to 9 hours a day in class. I did that for a year, and then I was a meteorologist forecasting weather for, I guess it was 12 years. And in the Air Force, the main job of a meteorologist is not to get on TV and say, oh, it's going to be partly cloudy. That's about 5% of the job. The real job is to brief pilots on the weather they're going to see as they're flying, landing, and takeoff. And you have to worry about surface weather and also weather 10,000 feet, 20,000, I'm sorry, 15,000 meters. We're not in the States. Uh, like that. So you have to brief the pilots on all that. And the pilots are generally concerned about things that we aren't concerned about on the ground. The biggest thing is icing and wind shear. So they're more concerned about that. But that's how I did that. I was a weather forecaster while I was in the military in South Korea, Fort Knox, Kentucky, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio, and also Patrick Air Force Base in Florida. Those were the places I did the work.
Wow, it sounds like you're very well traveled and have a wealth of knowledge in this topic. Is this going to be a series that you will be offering here for you on Jay Teaches in your company?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I'm offering it right now. As the program's set up right now, it's designed for kids, 10 to 14 years old, and these are the kids that are really interested in science. This is not for kids that aren't really interested in science, like have zero interest. If they have a building interest, that's different. I offer it as a 10-week group class.
Oh, Dan Neal says, "Hi, Jay."
Hi, Danielle.
So, Danielle, do you have any questions for Teacher Jay while we're still here? Give him a minute and see if he responds. Well, that's so cool. Well, how do we get a hold of you? How do students find out where you can have these awesome lessons?
You can go to my website at jteaches.com. There's nothing set up specifically for this on the website. It's probably best to, you can send me an email, or you can, j@jteaches.com. That would be fine. Or you can contact me through WeChat, WhatsApp, or Line. Those would all be fine. Okay.
Very good. Interesting. Oh, it's Daniel. He had spelt it interesting.
Yeah, I know Daniel. I know Daniel.
Ah, he said you did. That's awesome. Oh, and we have another joining here. Oh, you're going to have to forgive me on how to pronounce your name. Congrui? Jai. I think it's Jai. Jai. Do you have any questions for Teacher Jay today, or were you just tuning in? Either one's just fine. Well, this is awesome. I think this is a really cool opportunity. I know when I was a kid, I would have killed for this type of lesson. This is really interesting. You know, this is so different than your normal just English class or social studies class. You know, this is something
I wanted to mention that this is not an English class. I will have something else for younger kids that will be a combination of both, but this is not an English class. This is a weather class. I start the kids out by teaching them how to take weather observations, and then we move into forecast. Okay.
Awesome. Great clarification there. So it's basically really just dipping your toes into some really interesting aspects of science.
Sure.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. Well, if we don't have any more questions, don't forget to download your free workbook that goes with our Teachers Live today. It will be on replay tomorrow. Don't quote me on that. I will try very hard to have it on replay tomorrow. Here, no question. My kid is learning English from Teacher Jay. She just wanted to watch the live.
I think that's Jacqueline's father.
Oh, so cool. Thank you so much for joining. What a great support you have. You have such a, teacher, I know that Teacher Jay, he works, he has his own company, Jay Teaches. He collaborates with us here at TCC. But I also have a separate coaching company that I coach teachers who have gone solo. And Teacher Jay is very popular. His classes are always really well booked. I mean, he's just phenomenal. He's somebody I completely recommend. If you are able to catch him in any way or form when he's offering something special, this is definitely one of the teachers on my very short list that I recommend outside my company as well. He's very, very good. But, well, it looks like we are going to be finished for today. So let's, can you go ahead and stop sharing for me, please?
Sure.
There we go. There we are. Now we're both back here. All right. Okay. Did we pop back? It takes a second for the live to come back. Let's make sure that I'm doing a gallery. All right. Oh, wait, maybe not gallery. What about multi-speaker? We'll work it out. There you are. Now I can see you in the live. Awesome. All right. Facebook has updated all these new going lives, so it takes a second. Okay, so that was an extremely fantastic class. I really liked that. You know, we had a couple hiccups here and there, but you know what? It was awesome. Thank you, Teacher Jay, for giving us such a clear and fun lesson on water cycle. So I hope everybody enjoyed learning how water moves through our world. Everything from evaporation to condensation to precipitation. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, I hope you guys have learned something new. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Feel free. We will respond to them over the next couple of days. So don't think just because we're not live, we're not going to respond to them. But before we go, I want to remind you that this is just the taste of the great learning experiences that are offered by Teacher Cole's English Corner and Jay Teaches. And while Jay isn't one of our regular teachers, he's a great collaborator and someone I've really had the pleasure to work with. And I'm very excited that he came on today. Hopefully he'll come back. So together we're bringing you the best education and collaboration as teachers should. So if you're looking to improve your skills, whether it be with English, science, communication, get a hold of Teacher Jay or TCEC, Teacher Cole's English Corner. Thanks again for everyone for joining us, and keep exploring, keep learning, keep growing. Talk to you guys later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.